Hey, there we go. Oh man, there's heaps of gold in that. There's way more gold in that than I thought there was going to be. What's up guys, Chris here from Vo-Gus Prospecting. If you're new to the channel, a big warm welcome, and if you're an old multi hat like this one, welcome back. Today we're crushing gold ore and gold ore samples to extract the gold in my dolly pot. In fact, for the last several weeks I've been collecting all of the hot rocks that I've been getting with the Gold Monster 1000 to crush them up at home. My theory was that if the hot rock had enough minerals in it to set the detector off, then possibly it had some gold along with it. And I've been surprised to find that up to 40% of the rocks that I've taken home have had fine gold in them. Now, we are not talking hugely significant amounts of gold when we're talking about these rocks that I've crushed up. We are only crushing rocks that are maybe 1 to 2 inches long and about as thick. But to get 5 or 6 specks of gold out of them means some incredibly rich ore, and it's actually helped me narrow down the areas that I'm working by looking for those sorts of rock in the bedrock surrounding my alluvial fields. Today we're crushing 4 samples. One of them is definitely a hot rock that might have gold in it. One is a hot rock with some quartz on it, which is a really good indication that there could have been a vein in there. One actually has a visible bit of gold in it, and one made a really nice sound on the detector. So we're not 100% sure what we're going to get. It is a little bit of pot luck, but it's a lot of fun doing it. This type of gold prospecting is so simple, and you need very little equipment to get it done. You need a dolly pot, you need a crusher, you need a sieve, you need a pan, and somewhere to pan in, whether that be a creek or a tub of water. And you don't even need a detector to do it. You can literally start walking riverbeds with known gold sources in them and just look for quartz that has lots of mineralization about it and just sample everything. And eventually, when you do find the gold, you can just keep your eye out for those types of quartz or iron or whatever it might be in. This is the first rock that I want to start with. This is nothing more than a hot rock that gave me a nice sound on the detector. In all likelihood, it's probably just got a high iron content. But the reason that we're checking this particular rock is if you look at this piece of sandstone, there's actually very fine grains of quartz mixed throughout it. And in my testing, I've discovered that if I find this type of sandstone with that granulated quartz in it, I seem to almost always find gold. This isn't quite right. I'd like to see a little bit bigger particles of quartz in there than what I have. You want to use your dolly pot to reduce this down to 1mm pieces at their largest size. You're not going to ever crush the gold down, so if there's any nuggets in it, it'll just be sitting in your sieve. But this has a lot of free mill gold, which is extremely tiny. If you don't crush it down in one of these and sieve it, you won't release the gold. We've now reduced all of that rock into powder. 10-litre bucket of water, little pan, panning station, and Grizzly gets to keep his pool. I've also got soap in this water. Well, not much soap, just a little bit to break that surface tension. Now we're always going to expect a little bit of spalting or the iron filings off our dolly pot and our crusher. You can just rip them out with a magnet at a later time if you need to. Yeah, I don't think we're very lucky. I've only got spalting in there. That's why I said right at the start it was probably going to be a hot rock. Let's move on to our next one. Now our next one is an interesting rock. This rock has kept me awake at night. Now it's this end that I'm particularly interested in. I don't think you're going to be able to make it out on camera. But up in this gap here, there's either a very, very suspicious looking bit of pyrite or a piece of gold. And we're about to smash the living bejesus out of it. Goodbye, sweet rock. It's like baking a cake. About 8 months of torture, I finally get to see what's in this thing. It's probably nothing. A grand total of about 5 pieces of spalting. Just steel in this pan. So we're 2 for 0, which is not great, but I only need one of these rocks to have gold, and I've got just the piece. This comes out of Nugget Gully, and I found it about 10 months ago. and can you see the gold? Now, it was up on the bank, nice and high, right next to a mine dump. And something interesting about this rock is it's pretty much buck white. There's no minerals associated with it whatsoever, which is a rarity in my area, because normally if you're going to find gold, it's going to come along with chalcopyrite. That's just about enough of me waffling on about this Easter egg. Let's crack the Easter egg open and get the delicious chocolate from inside. Oh no, I've got bits flying everywhere. That's probably the bad part about using a small dolly pot. You are going to have bits of shrapnel. And before anyone mentions anything about eye protection, I know. Now traditionally, this is where you're going to find your nuggets. Well, not traditionally, it's not like a tradition, it's just basic physics, isn't it? This can't fit through that tiny mesh. But I cannot see any of that pretty yellow rock there, so we're going to crush this down further to make sure we get any of those small particles of free mill gold out. 10 months and we're finally going to find out just how much gold was in that tiny little rock. We definitely could have reduced this a little bit further. The particle sizes are at 1 millimeter, but we could have gone down heaps more. Hey, there we go. Oh man, there's heaps of gold in that. There was way more gold in that than I thought there was going to be. So this is what we got out of that tiny, tiny little rock. Now I know from the standpoint of like alluvial prospecting where you might pull out a couple grams in a day, that doesn't look like much, but you have to remember that came out of a tiny pebble. Like, it was hardly a rock. And so that much gold is actually representative in our experience with testing up in that area of about 5 ounces a ton. That's what that looks like. Like whole mining companies are working off way less than that. We're talking about like 13 or 14 grams a ton and they can make a profit. So 5 ounces a ton, it's impressive. The other good thing about doing rock crushing and getting gold this way is it's super easy to clean up because there's no heavies. Alright, we just got one more rock to go. This is the piece of sandstone that has the bit of quartz wrapped around it, so I'm thinking it's just a hot rock, but because it was giving me a signal and we've got both a bit of the host rock plus a bit of quartz, there's a chance maybe that signal is fine gold locked up in here. See straight away how red that soil is, so that's really indicative of a high iron content, and most likely this will just be a hot rock. But you can also possibly see some of those swirling patterns in there, and that's a good indication of mica. And mica is one of those associated minerals with gold. Like I said earlier in the video, it's all about finding minerals in combination, not necessarily just quartz or just ironstone. Man, I'd love it if there was even one dot in here. Well, I thought we got lucky, but it's just a piece of iron. Basically, all across the top here is a heap of spalting, so no luck in 3 out of the 4 rocks. So there you have it. That's crushing up some ore samples. If you want to know where to get that dolly pot, I picked it up at a local hardware shop. It's basically nothing more than a Star Picket driver. And it only costs $12, so really cheap, and the steel bar is just a scrap off cut from a steel place. Starting to crush rocks yourself will help you learn what you should be looking for in the geology in the areas that you're working your sluices and pans. And it obviously will help you with your detecting, because the more that you know what to look for using your detector, the more likely it is that you're going to stumble across a piece of rock that has gold in it. But as usual, these things take time and practice to learn, so it's a good way to spend your afternoons if you haven't got much to do and you just want to have a little bit of fun gold prospecting at home. Bring some rocks home, crush them up, see what's inside of them. And I wanted to say this is a prelude episode to a Dad's Reef special. The Dad's Reef special has got a piece of ore coming that is immense. Now that's interesting. It's actually a super heavy rock as well. It has the loudest signal in it I have heard from Dad's Reef. Not only that, it's extremely weighted to one side, and I'm so looking forward to bringing you that video because I really want to bust that rock open, but I've got to get a few things in place before I do, because we're also going to coincide it with a little bit of a special project we've been working on. So I hope you'll join me for that Dad's Reef special when it comes up, and a good way of not missing out on it is to hit that subscribe button and the bell in the bottom corner. Subscribing is completely free, and it will give you access to literally hundreds of gold prospecting videos on my channel, as well as my social media feeds, including Instagram, Facebook, and my website, where I'm a hell of a lot more active. You can keep up to date with all the stuff that's going on in the Vo-Gus prospecting world, as well as enter all the giveaways and shenanigans that we get up to. Make sure you give your dog, fish, cat, guinea pig, rabbits, or children a scratch behind the ear for me. Peace, and I'm out. Then get yourself a Rex who will scratch your face up real bad. Will you, wiggle butt?